Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That is Eric over there.
Hello.
And that is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I am Kelly. Eric, it seems like I have seen an awful lot of you lately.
Yes, you have. We
Yeah.
had a wonderful ceremony for a tragic event with my wife's mother passing after the glorious recovery of her dad.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that was great. Guess what?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a celebration of life, and Dina planned it perfectly. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say this, but it's like, well, I planned this thing, and usually you're, yeah, but this was wrong and that was wrong. And she's like, as far as her planning a part of it, it was perfect. She said it's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Oh.
And you're always paranoid maybe people won't show up or something, but it was a really nice outflow of people and lots of good things. I mean, you were there.
Yeah. Well, I loved your mother-in-law also. I don't think you have to worry about. So, like when I go, that's a real worry. Is anybody going to show up? But your mother-in-law was very loved, and you could tell by the turnout and by the things that everybody said. It was, at one point, I'm sitting there listening to all this stuff, and I'm feeling the tears come, and I look over, and I was like, oh, thoughtful. Somebody put tissues on all the tables, too. So, I guess that's what's happening. So, it was really lovely, though.
Yeah, it was great. Here over the next few episodes, I have very little to talk about. And part of that was my contribution was an hour-long video.
Right.
So I've been doing that. So which terrified me at the beginning. We had 2 hours of prep. Spent 90 minutes of it trying to get the proper video equipment to work. It never did. Luckily, they had backup.
Oh.
So it was able to play. But man, that was
Was it like a slideshow or was it like video clips or
both.
Oh, cool.
Both.
And music and everything. It was really nice.
Oh,
Nice
that's
work.
awesome.
It went really well. She's waiting on a few other people to leave their memories. She enjoyed your memory.
Oh. I talked to Marth, your father-in-law, and he was trying to push flowers on everybody.
Yes.
At one point, I was like, well, I should get some flowers. And then I kind of put it through my head, and I said, there's going to be a ton of flowers there, and somebody is going to have to take these all home, so I'm not getting flowers. I just got cards. But I ended up getting the flowers anyway. And then Marth says, and I way over-ordered on the wine. I'm going to have 2 cases of wine. And I said, I'll take one of those, too. And he was like, I'm not giving those away. I got the flowers.
Yeah, you got something there. But yeah, so it was quite good. Had a lot of family up for it. And yeah, she was really special to me. She filled a void pretty powerfully left a few years ago and helped me with all the shit I had to deal with my mom and watching over Dina and knowing she's going to be fine because her parents are awesome.
Yeah.
And so that was really nice. It was good to have that done. And of course, there's the post something like that. It's like, oh, well, what now?
Yeah.
But that is just the rest of your life. So, you got to figure that one out.
I asked Marth, no, I should say, I'll preface this with Marth has done our taxes for years.
Yes.
And because of everything going on, I had got an extension on my taxes and just have been pushing it off with Crypticon. And then we've had a health thing going on in my friends and family circle. But I sat with Marth and I said, so what's next, Marth? More travel or working with the community? He goes, doing your taxes. Like, really? Oh, good.
Marth is an amazing man. He is he's an engineer through and through.
No kidding.
And you could tell from his speech that she meant a lot to him, but the way he presented it was amusingly clinical.
Sure.
It was because he just rattled off the details of their relationship and everything, but
Yeah.
I just about lost it because at the end he said,
Yes.
and I loved her very much. And I was just like, oh,
Yep.
die. I'm going to cry.
Yep.
Aw. Oh,
So, but it was lovely
Mhm.
to see him, and he has certainly bounced back from that accident so well. That's amazing. And it was neat to see Jamie, who
Yeah.
except for Crypticon, I hadn't seen in probably 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Dana's like, if my circle isn't particularly large, she's like, Kelly and Jamie better show up. I'm like, I'm sure they will.
of course.
And they
Yeah.
both did. And
Mm.
so, yeah, went really well.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's really start to bring some things down with some of the movies I saw this week.
Oh, okay, good.
Jeez Louise.
I saw Tarot.
Oh, I have
Oh.
heard awful things about that.
Oh
Really?
no.
Well, I'll bet you that they are still overselling it.
Oh no.
It is really pretty. It is a
Okay.
great looking film.
Okay.
And the creatures are awesome in a Hellraiser kind of way. And
Oh.
there's all sorts of stuff going for this film, but it is so fucking stupid.
Oh
And the
no.
acting is pretty so-so. And something happens at the end that I was like, I don't understand
No.
what this ending is. Is this a funny ending? Is this?
Oh, shit.
I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I was like, no, I think they're going to end it on this kind of sitcom ending. It's based on a book called Horoscope. Do you remember that book from
Yeah.
several years ago?
Yeah.
That book is pretty good.
Yeah.
Not this movie.
Movie. Okay.
No.
Oh geez.
Tarot is available to rent.
Wait for Tubi if you really must watch
I
it.
would say that your mileage may vary on this, but I haven't heard anyone say that they liked it. So
I haven't heard anyone say anything about it. So now I'm glad because this week I went and saw I saw the TV Glow, but it's been a close a request from my significant other as to whether or not we could go and see Tarot, and I keep being like, but this other movie.
yeah.
So now I'm quite grateful. I saw the TV Glow is really, really interesting. It's like a sort of unsettling horror film. It's it feels like you're in this strange liminal space kind of world, but you're not. You're just in like a high school, and then you're in this guy's adult life. The setup is that there's a very lonely dude in school, and he befriends this girl who introduces him to this TV show, and they both become, well, she's already completely obsessed with this show. And then at graduation, she just disappears off the face of the planet, and he cannot find her, doesn't know what happened to her. And then there seems to be this possibility that maybe the TV show is more than it seems. So it's really beautiful, weird. It's going to speak a lot to people who grew up watching Nickelodeon. It has a lot of Are You Afraid of the Dark vibes. It has some Buffy the Vampire Slayer feels to it. It has just a lot of these things that I think millennials especially will react to. It's interesting because it does definitely address how you feel in your own skin.
Oh.
And the director is as trans, so it's definitely addressing that, but not like straight up like on the in your face. It's more like, I don't feel right in this world. I don't feel right in my body. I don't feel right in this space. And you can see how that would be a like really interesting and powerful message to people on the LGBT spectrum trying to kind of find themselves.
That was I Saw the TV Glow.
Yes. Yes. Which is in theaters still, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. It's a short run after festivals.
Yes.
Well, I'm happy to announce the return of a Strange Eons Radio favorite. The
Uh-oh.
Evil TV show has started up
Yes.
again.
Yes, it has.
And, I've only been able to watch the first episode, but it is picking up right where it left off.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, oh, shit, this is going to be I think it's supposed to be the last season.
It
So
is.
it's like, this last season, they're just going to go crazy and dumb. Nope, there still looks like it's going to be really, really good.
Yes.
A lot of very funny moments in
Yeah.
this first one. A lot of really cool ideas because they have been tasked to investigate whether the Hadron Collider can open a
Yeah.
pit to hell. And
Oh God.
it's a really interesting episode. I have seen the second episode, which is not nearly as good.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
No, they started off well. And watching that first one though, with the grandmother and stuff, going, really,
Yeah.
you're gonna try to do this? You just need to go away now. But the Collider stuff is like, well, this is a good. Does it feel like that's going to be the season theme?
Well, you know that Ben got hit by the
Mhm.
particles and something showed up
Yeah.
that was also very Hellraiser looking.
Yeah, it was.
That has not gone away. That's back in the second
Ah,
episode.
okay,
So
cool.
I just didn't like this second episode's main plot.
Ah.
But the B and C plots I was very interested in.
So is it like the Monster of the Week part was was a weaker end, but like the continuing story was still interesting?
Yes.
Okay.
And the acting is just so good. Those characters have been so filled by those actors that they know
Yeah.
exactly what kind of looks to give each other. And so I feel very comfortable following them. Okay, so then the other movie I want to talk about is one that Eric has already talked about, The
Oh.
Fall Guy,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
which I thought was fine.
Mhm.
Eric, you failed to mention that the entire score of this movie is built around I Was Made by Loving You, Kiss's 1979 disco hit. The entire score. So that song opens the credits,
Yeah.
and then there's all kinds of little stings throughout that are, that
That's very
song.
true.
And
Mhm.
I was like, what the hell? Who decided this was going to be a good idea? I loved it, but I couldn't imagine that anybody else likes that song the way that I do.
Oh,
It was
sure.
kind.
It was fun though.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But they did some other strange things too, like his Miami Vice jacket. I was like, why Miami Vice? Of all the things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And then that pays off beautifully in
Oh,
the boat
absolutely.
race.
hmm
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I thought that was great, and I had fun with it. Now, look, I get it. I can be a stick in the mud when it comes to stuff like this, but it's because I've been writing a lot more, and I'm super critical of writing. This film, once the plot begins,
hmm
is an uncovering of a murder that it looks like Colt Seavers is being framed for,
Right.
hmm
and he's trying to find a video. This murder was viewed by dozens of people
It's true.
who are also all on this video, and I thought to myself, this part does not work at all unless he's going to go and he's going to murder dozens of people to cover up this murder.
Ooh.
And I was like, why? This didn't have to be like this. Why doesn't anybody in this multi-million dollar movie stand up and go, there is one problem with the script we should probably take care of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
And
even
easily
think about it.
solvable in the context of everything that was going on.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so once that happened, I kept thinking to myself, well, how are they going to explain all the other people he's not trying to frame and murder who are all on this video? So I
They're
don't know.
all in it. They all love him so much that they are willing to keep their traps shut forever.
There is that.
That's the sticking point for me, was like, okay, this does not work, unfortunately. Fortunately, the movie is cute enough. Ryan Gosling is fantastic, and Aaron, who's playing the main movie star,
Yeah.
he is so good.
Yeah. He's such a dick.
Yeah, you
So-
really want to just punch him in the face.
And I thought Vanessa, this probably speaks to you. Well, Eric, you too, because you both are editors. I thought that there were some really lovely transition scenes that, as a writer, I'm never sure how to convey in a script. The scene where she's doing karaoke that is intercut with him
The
in this
crossfire.
fight.
Yes.
I was just like, how do you write this scene? Because I want to grab this script and see how the
Right.
guy did it, or if this was just a choice that
In
an
the
editor
editing.
goes and says, I'm going to bash these two scenes together
It
back and
could have
forth.
been either way. Probably, I would think in post production it happened because it's just such a cool like way of escalating. And like on the script page, I don't know if it would seem as powerful,
Yeah.
but in post, I can definitely see being like, let's spruce up this karaoke. Let's really draw that tension between him being late and her being irritated. And
Well, and then the brilliance of it is the shot where she's singing in the window. He goes
just
by
goes,
and
yeah,
Yes.
the
yeah,
big scene. I was like,
that's
this
true.
is really a lovely
Yeah. Well, like,
set
Yeah.
piece.
like I said, Emily Blunt was also incredible in that.
Oh,
And
Emily
they,
Blunt
they
was
did
so
a
good.
great job of showing her not being a pushover when she kicks the crap out of him in that
Yeah.
one scene.
Yeah, yeah.
But the when we talk about as filmmakers, there's 3 writing stages, really. There's the writing,
Right.
the actual writing. Then there's writing that happens when actors and directors get involved, which hopefully is more on set as opposed to fucking around in pre-production.
Yeah.
And then there's the editing,
Right.
which is another kind of writing. We had to do some rewriting of a 3-minute short
Right.
in editing. So you never know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm going down to see our 3-minute short at the Portland Horror Film Festival this coming weekend.
Oh,
And
nice.
we got into another festival,
What?
the really intriguing looking Cabin in the Woods Festival here in Seattle.
Oh my God. It took place. Yeah, it changes where it takes place, doesn't it?
I
Or
don't think so. It's only the
okay.
second one.
Okay. Gotcha.
But Crystal Connors puts on a wild event. I mean, they
Ooh.
literally go into a cabin for meets and greets and dinner. And then the theater last year was the guy named after the film school.
Oh, Stuart Stern?
Yeah, it's the Stuart Stern Theater at SIF.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if it. I think it will be again because she seems to be
Yeah.
doing a lot of work with SIF. But so which would be great because that's a hell of a neat little small theater there.
I don't
Yeah.
expect you to know exact dates, but what month is that?
August, I
Oh,
believe.
fantastic.
Yeah. The thing I know about them is I think they did like a judging, like sitting down, watching it together event on Anderson Island last year.
Oh, cool.
Because like one of the other Anderson Island Film Festival committee members came up to me and said, I ran into these guys and they were down at the campground and they're watching movies and wouldn't you believe it? And he handed me a card for one of
Right.
the people. So that's so fun.
Cool.
That's so fun.
Fall Guy, still in theaters. If you're going to go see it soon. It is apparently a flop.
Yeah, so is almost every movie this year.
Oh no, that's awful. I'm sorry to hear that because it is fun. Well, I don't know if this one's a flop or not, but I went and saw Furiosa.
It is.
Yeah,
Oh
it is.
no. Oh God.
Yeah, it's been one
bummer.
of the worst Memorial Day weekends in 10 years or
Or more,
14 years
20
or
years.
something like
Holy
that. Yeah.
smoke. It's a pretty wild film. They do something with I don't know if it's the shutter speed or if it's something in post or stylistically, but the action is a little bit sped up. And
Mm.
so at first that really irritated me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to sit through this. And it looks kind of cartoony and dumb. But honestly, that feeling went away pretty quick. Like I just was like, okay, cool. That's just this world. That's part of the feeling. This is not the first nor the last time that George Miller will screw around with this stuff.
Very true.
So totally fine. The actress who played Furiosa did a wonderful job. Just such a cool journey. It's split up into chapters.
Yeah.
And the bad guy being played by Chris Hemsworth, he's so good and he's having such a good time.
Yeah.
I at one point, because I knew, like seeing the trailer, I was like, that's Chris Hemsworth. Oh my God, he's gonna play like this awful villain. That's great. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, wait, is it Chris
He's
Hemsworth?
got the prosthetic
Because
nose.
he has the
Yeah.
prosthetic nose, and there's just like the expressions are not what we're used to. The voice is not what we're used to. His
Yeah.
mannerisms are not where. I mean, he is an actor, and you can see that by seeing what a different role he does. But
Anna,
so
Anna
fun.
Taylor-Joy
Yeah.
is Furiosa.
Thank you. Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy. She does a wonderful job.
I have to wonder if this movie is flopping because audiences don't like sequels/prequels without the original actors. And if we had gotten Charlize Theron
Oh, yeah.
digitally de-aged,
Oh,
if that would have been maybe something closer to what they wanted.
I don't know.
I thought Chris Hemsworth was fucking brilliant.
You got to see
Hilarious.
this.
Yeah. I'd like to see
Excellent.
it again in the theater. It was that good.
Yeah.
And I didn't think the sped up stuff was any different than what they were doing in Fury Road or even in The
It
Road Warrior.
it's been a hot minute since I've seen Fury Road, so they might have done it, and I just forgot about it. I did feel like that's right. He does weird stylistic stuff, and I
Yeah.
couldn't quite. This is definitely a different color palette than Fury Road. Like it's a lot poppier in the colors. It's a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, it's different. It doesn't feel like it has the same film grain to it, but it's still just so fun. I'm surprised. Did it bother you that the story was? It definitely felt like more of a and then rather than a beginning, middle, and end.
Well, I thought it was I liked it more than Fury Road, and I loved
Oh
Fury
wow.
Road.
Oh
Holy
wow, okay.
shit.
Yeah.
I thought that it was a complete story. I mean, it
Mhm.
spans decades,
Yeah.
and you get
Okay.
to see Gastown and the Bullet Farm. You get to
Oh yeah.
see everybody, kind of interacting in how these three towns after the apocalypse work.
Shit.
And I was just like, wow, this is a major story, whereas Fury Road is a long chase scene.
Sure.
Mm.
There are a couple of really cool chase scenes in this, but there's romance as far as that can go in
Mhm.
a Mad Max film.
Mhm.
I thought that, yeah, Anna Taylor Joy was spectacular. I I thought the stunts were amazing. I thought it looked
Mhm.
really, really cool. So
Yeah.
uh, I loved it.
Brutal, just brutal moments in it too.
Yeah,
I was like, that's not a good way to go.
yeah, and a strangely, very strange for a Mad Max film, third act and final battle, which is mostly discussion.
Yeah,
Oh, wild.
that's true.
I
I
was
didn't
like,
even
this is
think
not
about that.
what he usually does with one of these movies. And I really liked it because it's just two really solid actors acting hard against each other. And
Nice.
I was
Mhm.
like, boy, this is so cool. And then, you know, there were like 8 people in the theater.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's also Fall Guy too, so it's kind of like I don't know
Yeah.
Maybe
what's
it's like
going
it's
on.
good weather and the kids are back in school, but people are too busy trying to be outside and cooking barbecues rather than going into a dark
Dodging tornadoes and
My
floods.
fear
theater.
is that George Miller is now 80. This unlikely we will get another Mad Max film from him. And then
Yeah.
when he passes, what will happen is a reboot of the entire series. And
No.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
I'm sure that they're not going to let the Mad Max thing go. Also, there was one spot in the movie that it didn't bother me, but it almost bothered me because you see Max
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I
really?
hated that
for about 2 seconds.
because you're like, wait, how old would he be? I'm
And I'm
like,
just like,
is he?
unnecessary. This is fan service, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
weird.
so weird. I was like, that's the literal same cliff that we start Fury Road on. Like,
Ah,
what for? What for? Because I mean, I like this idea that almost every film feels like a reboot of Mad Max
Yeah.
because it's that
mm,
sort of legend evolving storytelling. And so not the timelines don't make sense.
Right.
The character being where they are, doing what they're doing doesn't always line up. And so I was fine with getting a new actor even, but yeah, we don't need to reboot that. What the fuck? Unnecessary.
yeah. God, you people watching all your old fucking movies. I watched a new movie,
Oh.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh my gosh.
Was this in preparation for the sequel, the Axel movie
No,
coming up on Netflix?
no, kind of forgot that was coming out. It's just for some reason I had the itch weeks ago. It's like I feel
Mhm.
like rewatching Beverly Hills Cop, like kind of dumb '80s action comedy movie,
Yeah.
and this is one of the better executed ones of those. And you know what? It holds up. It's still fun. It's still silly. I would say one of the things that doesn't hold up, I think a younger audience would be like, "What's going on here?" Where when the cops screw up, the upper cops come forward and say, "You have to apologize, and you now have to. But you're going to be punished for the way you treated this young black man."
Oh,
Oh. Wow.
Uh,
Fantasy.
so
What can you say?
that hit a little differently now than it did in the '80s.
Oh
But
man. Yeah.
Eddie Murphy is still just so good,
Mhm.
and the evolution of the two LA cops and the way he sort of corrupts them
yeah.
is just great, and it still all works, still a lot of fun. So, worth seeing. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. '80s action dumb movie really works.
I definitely haven't seen it since VHS. So
Although Dina did say, "My God, they play that Axel Foley song a lot, don't they?" Yes, 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 they do.
Harold Faltermeyer.
That's right. Wow, nice pull.
Quick, ask me my mom's middle name. No idea. I have no room for stuff like that.
Oh no.
Yeah, so there's the Netflix sequel coming out, I think next month,
Oh.
Axel F.
Ah.
And I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks funny. This looks good.
Well, the last thing Netflix did with him was fantastic. At least the last thing I know of. The filmmaker, we're talking about the
Right.
Rudy Ray
Dolomite?
Moore,
Right.
which was
Dolomite, yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
fantastic.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Cool.
Well, okay, gang. How about we take a little break, and then when we come back, we are celebrating Rodger Corman films.
Yay.
Yeah.
By 1965, the studio heads were all over 60 years old. Adolph Zucker, on the board at Paramount, was over 90. Hollywood's golden age had faded, and a new audience was on the rise in America. The young baby boomers cruising around in cars looking for a place to hang out. They found a home at the drive-in theaters, where B-movies reigned supreme. The king of the B-movies was a man named Rodger Corman. Corman had his finger on the pulse of the new market that wasn't being served by the old studio heads. B-movies weren't grand award-winning prestige pictures. They were cheap, mostly sci-fi and horror movies filled with sex, violence, and exploitation. Corman got his start in the mailroom at 20th Century Fox, where he eventually rose to story reader. But after frustration from lack of credit, he left to start writing, producing, and directing films on his own during the 50s. By the late 60s, Corman had hit a stride, making such successes as The Wild Angels and The Trip. Corman's model was to shoot films extremely quickly and cheaply, loading them up with sex and violence. By the time people started talking about them, the next film was hitting the theaters. It was known as disposable cinema. One of the ways Corman kept the cost of his films down was by hiring film students and other inexperienced young people. He didn't have to pay them much, and they received valuable hands-on experience. Perhaps Corman's most important pupil was Francis Ford Coppola. Coppola started working for Corman while a graduate student in UCLA's film program. His first job with Corman was taking a Russian sci-fi flick and turning it into a new monster movie by dubbing over all of the dialogue with new lines and re-editing it. This movie became Battle Beyond the Sun. Coppola's first directing gig was for Corman, a thriller called Dementia 13. He shot the film in 9 days with a budget of only $40,000. Corman's company served as an incubator for young talent. Directors could take risks there as they developed their creativity. Peter Bogdanovich and Ron Howard each made their first film for Corman, and Martin Scorsese made his second film for Corman. Corman didn't just serve as a mentor for budding filmmakers, he mentored actors as well. Peter Fonda, Jack Nicholson, Dennis Hopper, and many others got their first big roles in Corman films.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
In 1969, Hopper, Fonda, and later Nicholson teamed up to make a film titled Easy Rider. Remember how the studio heads were old and becoming irrelevant? Well, Columbia was run by Abe Schneider. His son, Bert Schneider, had been working for his father when he decided to make a production company of his own. Bert saw the potential of the youth market and teamed up with Bob Rafelson and Steve Blauner to create BBS Productions. So they hired Hopper to direct and Fonda to produce the film. Schneider knew that the stale assembly line mode of production that old Hollywood had been creating films with since the beginning of cinema was outdated. They saw what was happening with the French New Wave and recognized the potential of a production model that gave authorship of a film to a single artist. It was only a couple years earlier, in 1967, that the influence of the French New Wave made its way to America. Arthur Penn, David Newman, and Robert Benton wrote Bonnie and Clyde, about two bank robbers in love, as an homage to the French New Wave.
We rob banks.
They even sent the script to Francois Truffaut in hopes that he would direct it. Truffaut gave them detailed notes on ways to improve it before passing it along to Jean-Luc Godard. Both Godard and Truffaut decided to make other films that year, but Truffaut got the ball rolling when he sent the script to Warren Beatty. After the film was finally completed, Warner Brothers thought they had a flop. They released the film on the art house circuit. Young audiences took to the film. It became a massive success. even earning a Best Picture nomination at the Academy Awards that year. This new market also meant that a generation was finally being represented on screen. A generation against the war in Vietnam. A generation that felt marginalized by its country. Dennis Hopper said, "No one had ever seen themselves portrayed in a movie. At every love-in across the country, people were smoking grass and dropping LSD, while audiences were still watching Doris Day and Rock Hudson. The Hays Code that restricted what could be shown in a film was on its way out, in favor of a new system that would rate the content of a film instead of censoring it. Filmmakers were now able to depict subject matter in their films that had been off-limits since before 1930, when the Hays Code was introduced.
Oh, let me out.
Don't be nervous.
Get away from that door.
The B-movies led to a new awakening. The revolution was ready to go mainstream. All it needed was for old Hollywood to die. The final nail in the old Hollywood coffin started in the mid-60s. The studios started getting bought up by large corporations that could sustain the loss of a flop without collapsing. The first big acquisition was Paramount Pictures by Gulf and Western in 1966. The only issue was that these companies knew nothing about making movies, so they turned to the new film school generation of filmmakers. Down and out, and in need of work after a failure, Francis Ford Coppola accepted an offer to direct a movie titled The Godfather for Paramount Pictures in 1972. The film was originally supposed to be a small gangster flick, but through a lot of fighting, Coppola managed to turn it into a masterpiece and a huge box office success. The triumph of The Godfather and the successes of other young filmmakers gave Coppola the freedom to spread his creative wings, as well as help Coppola's friend, George Lucas, spread his. After Lucas's nostalgic hit, American Graffiti, he decided that his next film would be a space opera based on old westerns and samurai movies, called Star Wars, in 1977. Star Wars, as well as Steven Spielberg's Jaws 2 years earlier, would mark a new direction for American cinema. These films would be hyped up, high-concept spectacles that would become wide-release events for the movie-going public. They were known as blockbusters. More importantly, they would give the studios access to new untapped revenue streams.
Now your children can relive our great space battles or collect our wonderful Star Wars companions with Kenner's Star Wars action figures.
By the beginning of the 80s, a series of big-budget auteur failures would bring a close to New Hollywood. Hollywood realized that they could make significantly higher returns by investing in franchise films and big-budget spectacles. What we're left with is a catalog of unique stories, indicative of a time
We have returned. This was my subgenre topic, and because we lost Rodger Corman just a couple weeks back, I said, how about we all pick a Rodger Corman film?
Absolutely.
And I picked a winner.
Ooh.
I had never seen this. From 1963, I am talking about X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
August 14th, notes on experiment designated X. Experimental subject, myself, James Xavier.
X, the most fantastic experiment you have ever taken part in, presents Ray Milland in his most challenging role since his Academy Award-winning Lost Weekend. X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
Are you all right? It's like a splitting of the world. More light than I've ever seen. Filled with light.
X, the man with the X-ray eyes, tries to help the most desperate in our society and enjoys all the delights of secretly studying sexology.
Headache?
No, it's just my eyes.
A doctor with the power to see what others cannot believe. He can overcome the unknown, save lives, and invade the glamour gambling casinos of Las Vegas and defy the goddess of chance.
Don't draw. Don't draw. The next card's a face card.
Harry, you better go for the sheriff right now. sleeve.
No!
Budget of $250,000. No idea the box office. Rotten Tomato critics give it 88%, and the audience gives it 67%. Directed by Rodger Corman. 56 directing credits, 493 producing credits,
That was crazy.
including Swamp Woman, Rock All Night, She Gods of Shark Reef, and The Raven, which I talked about in an earlier episode. Starring Ray Milland, who has 176 credits, including Dial M for Murder, Frogs, The Thing with Two Heads, which I think you talked about on an episode.
Sounds familiar.
He gets the black man's head, and he's a racist.
Oh, yeah.
He was also in Escape to Witch Mountain.
Oh.
Let's see who else is in this. Diana van der Vlies, who has 42 credits, mostly TV, but also The Swimmer, Eric.
Oh,
Love Spell.
So good.
99 episodes of Ryan's Hope, and 903 episodes of Where the Heart Is, which is not one I'm familiar with.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know.
Also in this, Harold J. Stone, 186 credits, mostly TV, but also The Photographer, The Big Mouth, Man Afraid, and The Harder They Fall. John Hoyt is in this. He has 258 credits, including When Worlds Collide, To the Ends of the Earth, and Sealed Verdict. And finally, shockingly, Don Rickles shows up in this. 81 credits, including Innocent Blood, Casino, and he is Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story franchise.
Excellent.
Okay. Have you guys seen X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes?
No, but I saw it on a list of cool films to check out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just shockingly good.
Mm.
So we start off, we meet Dr. James Xavier, the titular X of this movie, who has gone to get his eyes checked, and the doctor says, your eyesight is excellent, just like last month. What's going on? Why do you want to keep testing your eyes? And it turns out that Xavier has created these eye drops that are intended to increase the range of human vision beyond the visible spectrum and into ultraviolet and even X-ray wavelengths and beyond.
Whoa.
For reasons that only make sense to the storyline, Xavier has decided he must test the eye drops on himself, believing that testing on animals and volunteers will produce uselessly subjective data.
Sure.
One might argue that that exact data would be what you'd want to know before testing the drops on yourself, to which Xavier would clearly say, fuck right off.
Oh, man.
He enlists the aid of his doctor friends Sam and Diane, and at first, his experiment is a wild success. When looking at an eye chart, he's reading completely different letters than we're seeing on the chart, but when the doctor flips the chart over, those are the letters that Xavier was seeing.
Oh.
At one point, he is scheduled to assist in a surgery for another doctor, but because he can see through the patient's chest, he realizes that the doctor has misdiagnosed her, and he ends up taking over the surgery and saving the girl's life, and also pissing off this doctor.
I can imagine.
But Xavier is not happy with these results and wants to see even more. He continues using the drops, and as he does, his control over his vision decreases even as his X-ray powers increase. And guess who forgot to set the timer?
Oh, no.
Give myself 5 minutes.
Aw.
Penalized.
Oh, jeez.
While you're stopped for a moment.
Yeah.
Sam and Diane.
I know, isn't that funny? Not the Sam and Diane of Cheers. Okay, let's see. At one point, Diana has invited him to a groovy house party. This is 1963, guys, where he certainly doesn't look out of place since everyone there is 25 years old, and Ray Milland is about 60 in this movie.
Truly excellent.
And I'm not talking about 2024 60-year-olds who look, like they're 40. This is 1963, where a 60-year-old looks like an 80-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter to the hep chicks and cats who are all dancing at this party, and one particularly attractive young woman asks him to dance, which he does quite badly. But as he's doing it, the girl's clothes suddenly disappear, and looking around the room, Xavier realizes he's watching a bunch of naked people dancing.
Oh.
When Diane figures it out, she kind of rushes him out of there. But the fun and games quickly pass, and pretty soon Xavier can see the world only in forms of light and texture that his brain is unable to actually understand. Even closing his eyes brings no relief as he can see through his eyelids now.
Oh.
Sam advises him to stop the drops until they've had a chance to evaluate the effects, particularly since the eyes have a direct path to the brain. But Xavier refuses, and during an argument, he accidentally and quite ridiculously knocks Sam out of a window where he falls to his death.
Oh, shit.
Diane persuades him that he must go on the run because if the cops catch up to him, he will be convicted of murder. So he ends up at a carnival as a mind reader, and it kind of reminded me of the new Nightmare Alley because he wears a huge blindfold with a painted eye on it like Bradley Cooper wore in that one. And his manager at this place is played by Don Rickles, Mr. Warmth. And he is just a perfect slimeball in this. And the manager realizes that this skill is not a trick, especially when X diagnoses a girl's injuries when she falls from the Ferris wheel and convinces him, or Don Rickles convinces him, that he can make more money as a miracle diagnostician. Xavier's eyes continue to change, and he has to wear thick protective goggles to prevent overload. And sick and dying people are now coming to the carnival, lining up for him to diagnose them. This is where Diane tracks him down and goes to speak with him, but he no longer sees the outer surface, so he doesn't even recognize her until she starts talking.
Oh, God.
He explains how he can no longer close his eyes to achieve darkness and is haunted by his power. He's also being blackmailed by Don Rickles, who has recognized who he is and will turn him over to the authorities if he tries to leave. Will Xavier and Diane be able to escape the clutches of Don Rickles? Will they end up in Las Vegas winning exorbitant amounts of cash because he can see the dealer's cards, and when he is thrown out, will his goggles be knocked off, exposing his eyes, which are now black and gold?
Whoa.
And will Xavier escape to a religious revival in the middle of the desert, telling the evangelists that he can see the edge of the universe, including the eye that sees us all?
Ooh.
To which the evangelist replies, "If thine eye offends thee, pluck it out." What a great movie. I had a blast with this. I loved it all the way through. And the end scene is a knockout. It is fucking awesome. A couple of taglines. Suddenly he could see through clothes, flesh, and walls.
The last one is not as powerful as the first two.
Yeah.
How about this one? He stripped souls as bare as bodies. Also doesn't make a lot of sense when you examine it.
Rough.
Some trivia. To create the effect of being able to see through a building, the director filmed the building while it was under construction.
Oh,
that makes such sense.
Right?
Awesome.
It's a pretty great shot.
It's a real Wes Anderson move.
Tim Burton developed a script for the remake of this film with writer Brian Golubloff, but it went unproduced, and Rodger Corman had considered updating the film with modern special effects or possibly remaking the film entirely. None of that happened. When Ray Milland and Don Rickles appeared together on a 1972 episode of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, Milland interrupted the proceedings to say that while X, the man with the X-ray eyes, was terrible, Rickles was brilliant in it and expressed his admiration for Rickles' acting ability.
Wow.
And then finally, the film won the Astronave d'Argento, Silver Spaceship Award in 1963 at the first International Festival of Science Fiction Film in Trieste, Italy.
Ooh.
Sure.
Does that become Sitges?
That's in Spain.
Oh, that's in Spain.
I was like,
sorry. They're the same. Come on.
I'm sure there are many people in those two countries that would disagree.
But what do they know?
That's right. They only live there.
It's a long flight to the Pacific Northwest. That's all I'm saying.
My movie was X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes. It was so good. I urge you both to watch it. It is really, really very watchable.
Very
cool.
cool.
Fantastic.
We had a filmmaker fly in from Spain to Crypticon Seattle this year, because his movie was showing. You know, it's like, you should come back and go to how do you say it? Sitges. With me. It's like,
You know, hopefully our listeners understand that I am not the person that I pertain to be when I am jesting about the table with you two.
I don't know. Everybody seems to think I hate you. So.
That's true. It is hard to convey sarcasm and wink-winkery around here. All right.
Everyone seems to think I hate her. I'm giving you 10 minutes, dear.
They might know something I don't know. Oh, my God. Oh, well, I'll pretend. It's fine. I don't have time for that. You like me. The
You like me. You really like me.
the movie I chose might have come from the same list that Kelly found his from, possibly, maybe. The BFI top 10 Rodger Corman movies you have not seen.
No.
Oh, never mind then. I found on there a film that had recently been referenced, The Intruder.
This man, take a good look at him. He's a specialist. He knows exactly how to turn this quiet town into a hell of violence.
The Negroes will literally, and I do mean literally, control the South. Are you willing to fight down to the last ditch and keep fighting till this thing is over?
The Intruder. He made the sleepy town of Caxton his town for his reason. He played on their fears and their hatreds. This town became a headline for the Intruder. He brought an end to innocence. He exploited a woman's weakness. He turned neighbor against neighbor.
How come you walk that bunch of to our white school? I don't see anything I do is any business of yours.
And sooner or later it would happen. He would make it happen.
Over here.
You were alone with a white girl in the basement of the school, but you didn't try to do anything. Is that what you expect us to believe? What's the thing?
AKA Shame, AKA The Stranger, AKA I Hate Your Guts from 1962. Yep. Rotten Tomato score of nothing from critics and 77% from audience. This is a budget of 100K or 90K or 80K, depending on what part of the internet you look. Box office, all I know is it was a box office failure. No idea by how much. Directed by Rodger Corman, who has been previously discussed as to what he's been up to, so I will leave that there. Written by Charles Beaumont, who has 43 credits, including Night of the Eagle, Brain Dead, Mask of Red Death, Haunted Palace, and 22 episodes of Twilight Zone. Starring William Shatner. So I think this is how I had heard of it before, because I'd heard that this was maybe William Shatner's best performance.
Oh.
He has, of course, 256 credits to his name, including Star Trek. And Kingdom
Not familiar with it.
Kingdom of the Spiders, which we talked about last week. And Frank Maxwell, 161 credits to his name, 172 episodes of General Hospital, The Wild Angels, Mr. Majestic, and a bunch of TV stuff I'd never heard of. So, the story follows Adam Kramer, who arrives at a small town of Craxton. He's charismatic, charming, handsome, and wearing an awful lot of white. He books out a week at a local hotel, and when asked why he's there, he says he's a social worker. The small town has, by law, been forced to integrate blacks into an all-white school. So 10 black students will be attending the school, and Adam, who is supposedly working with the Patrick Henry Society, is there to get everyone furious about it. It seems like the town isn't happy with the idea, but it's the law, so they'll go along with it. And he insists that it's up to them to fight back and rise up against this injustice. He's racist. Just so you know, he's racist.
What?
He's clearly an outsider, as he has no Southern accent, but he's so charming that no one seems to really mind, and they're happy to sort of go along with his ideas and his frustrations about why things are not going well around here. He even gets a wealthy landowner named Vern to back him up. And he also spends time seducing a teenage daughter who's maybe 16, of the local newspaper editor, Tom McDaniel. With the help of Vern, he makes an inflammatory speech in front of the town hall and organizes a cross burning in the black neighborhood. The town takes it one step further and throws dynamite in the church, killing the pastor. Tom, the newspaper editor slash father, who does not realize that his daughter is parking with this gentleman, instantly takes a dislike to him. He feels uncomfortable with the town's reaction and takes a stand against Adam. He encourages the black kids to walk to school again and goes with them. But of course, this has dire consequences when the townspeople accost him in the street and beat him nearly to death. Meanwhile, Adam seduces another woman, Vi, who is staying at the hotel in an adjoining room. She is the wife of a traveling salesman named Sam Griffin. She then disappears out of absolute shame of herself. She didn't really want to do it in the first place, and she was sort of convinced into a rapey, but no, it's fine. She secretly wanted it scene, and it is justified later by Sam saying, yeah, she told me that she knew many men before, but it's a sickness that runs in her, and she just can't help it. Great. Sam finds out and confronts Adam. And as a salesman, he sees through his actions and accuses him of being cowardly and controlling. He tells him he's lost his power over these people and they are not under his control. So Adam then convinces the daughter, aka the 16-year-old that he's making out with, that she should accuse one of the black students of rape. And the townspeople should then leave her father alone and not actually kill him. The town arrives to lynch the black student. Then we see a final confrontation between the townspeople, the student, and Adam losing his ability to control them when he insists, no, we should just arrest this kid, not use this rope that this guy is holding in his hand, or, as they chain this kid to a swing set. It's great. Will they lynch the black kid? Watch this film free on Roku channel to find out.
Roku channel? Is that the only option?
I think it's on Canopy as well.
Excellent.
Yes. Thoughts. So William Shatner does a great job in this. He is so convincing. It is difficult to watch. You see him with a lot of bravado, but also these kind of subtle moments where he is losing control and he thinks he's got these people wrapped around his finger. I don't know quite to what end other than to be racist, but it is neat to see this performance out of him. I hate the rapey scene with the hotel lady because it's so convincing. It's just gross. It's like, he's like, oh, it's too bright in here, and turns off the lights. And he's like, oh, you're uncomfortable. Isn't it so hot? Why are you wearing that shirt? And it's just so gross to watch that it's good, but bad. So also, this film has a lot of the use of the N-word, as well as many other racial slurs, some of which I had never heard of before, and was like, that sucks. It is hard to watch in this era. Seeing the KKK roll in through town in cars wearing their cool hats is also really weird. But I do like that throughout there's a constant people asking why. So when weird things are happening, or someone says they want something to happen or don't want something to happen, the reaction is often, why? And I think that that's cool because it makes people have to justify their sort of hostilities. Something I don't like is the wife of the newspaper guy who gets beat. She is super racist, and then all of a sudden she's like, well, never mind. I trust you, honey. You're right. Those kids should go to school, and we should integrate black people. I don't fully understand your reasons, but okay. And I was like, that's too quick. Also, the townspeople, after they try to kill this kid, they also turn into feeling bad about it a little too fast. It's very unconvincing. It's like, why do you suddenly feel like, oh, wait, this wasn't the right decision? However, it overall has a sense of almost like a Twilight Zone episode. Sure. Where, yeah, this town full of people who are good people who've gone wrong, but really, have they been wrong the whole time or whatever? It's got that real feel to it, so it makes sense that the author wrote a lot of Twilight Zone episodes. Little trivia, this was inspired by real-life events in Tennessee involving a northern bigot who went into a town inciting a racial conflict. This was shot entirely on location in southern Missouri with locals acting as extras. Knowing how incendiary the script was, Rodger Corman made a point of not showing them the full screenplay for fear of being run out of town. William Shatner said their lives were threatened, equipment was sabotaged, and permission to film in the local schoolyard was revoked. After the crew was thrown out of East Prairie, Missouri, by the chief of police for allegedly being communists, Rodger Corman realized he needed one more wide shot of the high school. He and his assistant went back to the town and hurriedly filmed the shot. The chief must have gotten wind of his being there, as he was seen by Corman arriving in the distance. Corman and his assistant quickly threw the camera and equipment in the car and sped away in the opposite direction unscathed. The movie received some good reviews, but encountered difficulty obtaining a release. Pathé released it in New York, but eventually pulled out, and the Corman brothers took over distributing the movie themselves. Intruder was his only film that didn't make money and was his career's quote-unquote greatest disappointment. Rodger Corman allegedly blamed William Shatner's performance for the film's box office failure. It was only one of 300-plus films made by Corman that lost money. Shatner jokingly suggested years later that the re-release title, I Hate Your Guts, was probably aimed at him. Rodger Corman, however, said, I think it failed for two reasons. One, the audience at the time in the early 60s simply didn't want to see a picture about racial integration. Two, it was more of a lecture. From that moment on, I thought my films should be entertainment on the surface, and I should deliver any theme or idea or concept beneath the surface. So it really changed his feelings about filmmaking, and he decided he wanted to really change it into an entertainment industry and not something with a deeper message. So,
this sounds fascinating. I want to watch this. What was happening at the end when they're going to lynch the kid and Shatner is saying we should just arrest him?
So it's very strange. I think the idea is that it's not very well portrayed, but it seems like he's getting everyone riled up because he wants to be in charge of these people, and it's more of a narcissist move, and he feels like he can get them to do things to his will, whatever those things are. Okay. And one of them is to go and get the kid and throw him in jail and get him kicked out of the school, and thus have it so that the black kids can't go into the white school. And when they show up with like ropes, he was like, wait, I didn't mean that. And he also was not responsible for the dynamite going into the church, but it wasn't clear that he was against it either. So it was a little loosey-goosey at the very end where you're like, wait, why are you saying, hey guys, let's just remember, we're not here to commit violence. We're just getting the police. And it's like, really?
That's not how it often works.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. I noticed looking through this also has Charles Beaumont and William F. Nolan. And then I clicked on this guy and got a disturbing picture.
Yeah, the local townspeople in this are crazy.
Great choice. I've heard about that film and I've never watched it, and you absolutely convinced me.
Yeah, I think you should check it out, especially if you like Rodger Corman, to kind of see what the other path could have taken him down.
Right.
Yeah, both of these sound great. I am checking them out, and also glad to say I will be contributing another damn good film.
Yes.
I'm putting 10 minutes on the buzzer for you.
This is 1964, Mask of the Red Death.
Karatsan.
No, I beg of you. Mercy, mercy. Lord Satan, send me a demon so I may know I'm to be your wife.
I want to help save your soul so you can join me in the glories of hell.
No, never.
Each man creates his own heaven, his own hell.
Let me see your face.
Rotten Tomatoes. I'm gonna side with the critics on this one. 91, crowd 68.
Whoa.
Like, no, this is a fucking good movie. Directed by Rodger Corman. Third time, y'all know. Written by Charles Beaumont.
All right.
Ah,
Hey, do you know he wrote 22 episodes of The Twilight Zone?
shocking. Shocking information.
He wrote The Intruder. Brain Dead, which I was a little surprised that I didn't notice that when I watched the movie or forgot. And The Haunted Palace. With a writing credit given to R. Wright Campbell as well, who worked on Hell's Angels on Wheels, Man of a Thousand Faces, and Machine Gun Kelly. No relation to the rapper. And Edgar Allan Poe. This is one of his Poe movies, starring Vincent Price, who you might know from Tiny Toon Adventures, The Little Troll Prince, The Great Mouse Detective, and The Greatest Adventures Stories from the Bible.
Oh, wow.
Also, Hazel Court, who's in The Final Conflict, The Premature Burial, and The Curse of Frankenstein. And Jane Asher from a bunch of Doctor Who stuff and the Quatermass Experiment, which I had also talked about before.
Yeah.
So we open with a great scene of a woman collecting sticks. And it's just obviously I know it sounds weird, doesn't it?
Sorry. Okay, go on.
But it's true. It looks fantastic. But it's very obviously a set. And it is very stylized, almost Bava looking. And I'm sure Bava borrowed from this a little bit. And with a red robed figure leaning against the tree. He takes a white rose and gives it to her after turning it red and tells her to take it to her village because the day of deliverance is at hand.
Oh.
Very stylized beginning. Vincent plays an asshole leader. The village thinks the prophecy was about his leadership coming to an end, and when he shows up in the village, they tell him this to his face. So of course, he orders them killed, but instead ends up taking them back to his castle because the daughter of one and the husband of the other, both the same woman, intervene. Of course, Vincent goes, well, you should join me at my castle, and takes all of them up there. Price is amazing in this film. His performance is top-notch. He plays a character named Prince Prospero, is credible in it. Corman often cited for his ability to make movie on a budget, but you know what? Dude's a good filmmaker too, as shown in all three of the films we talked about today. The colors in this film are gorgeous. It is incredibly well chosen too. The idea is it's not just, well, let's make something garish and interesting looking that looks really pretty, but they have meaning. There's an entirely yellow room, which walks into an entirely green room, I believe, and then a total white room, and then the black room, which she is not allowed to enter. But they all look really cool. What is going on outside? What did the red rose represent? The Red Death, as it's called, which of course has similarities to the plague and ideas along those lines. Prospero is shown further to be a dick to anybody around him, with one of the early parties humiliating and embarrassing the people of his court by telling them to act like certain kinds of animals and to writhe on the floor in front of him for his amusement. And just not a good person. There's another Poe adaptation within this Poe adaptation called Hop Frog, which is the story of a little person and his small bride. The bride is hit by a man in the court, and Hop Frog, well, actually, it's Hop Toad in the movie, vows revenge. He's good, because the guy's an asshole. Yet another asshole, not Vincent, but one of his buddies. As the movie learns on, you find out that Vincent Price is a active Satanist, and his wife is as well. and they're working together to create a strong incantation. Um, Price goes on a bunch of being an asshole to people excursions in the film and just continues to show the kind of person he's charactering, while Toad is working on his revenge by getting the person who avenged him to dress up as a gorilla for the costume party at the end. The guy, Skip Martin, playing this role is amazing. His performance is so good and so ridiculously nuanced for the little bit of stuff he has to do, because he's playing a character who's trying to be friends to this guy and convince him to do something in which he's going to fuck with him later on, but he's having fun with him, trying to convince him it's going to be fun, and it's just amazing. Price's wife in the role gives the peasant lady a way to escape, but she has to rescue her father and his husband herself. It's like, I'll show you how to get out, but you're going to need to get them. That does not go great. And it goes even worse when they get to the supposed purchased man at the exit. While Price is out there just screwing around with people, his wife tries to make an actual deal with the devil in a wild scene reminiscent of Rosemary's Baby almost, with the way it's shot through like fluid moving images and deep greens, and implies sexual acts with several different weird looking creatures. I'll get into that a little bit later. Corman later expressed dissatisfaction with the final mask sequence, which he described as the greatest flaw in the film. If you watch it, you can kind of see there's a lot of just running back and forth in the crowd while everything's falling apart, following Vincent just basically running back and forth for a while. His comment on it was, they filmed it in one day, which would have been enough time in Hollywood, but the English crews were just too slow. I cannot stress enough how good this movie is. The story was obviously a stretch, considering the original Poe story is 14 paragraphs long. I mean, it's a short. The director of Don't Look Now, and you know that film, and Walkabout is the DP for the movie.
Oh.
His name's Nicholas Rowe, and this is his first color film. And damn, he knew how to do it. This was a remastered from Arrow, so the colors just pop. It just looks ridiculously good. Many of the extensive castle sets were left over from Beckett, so the sets are really nice, which had been shot earlier that year and won BAFTA awards for its sets. The nomination and a nomination for Best Art Direction. So that's part of the reason it looks so good. They had really, really expensive sets that they never could have afforded on their own budget. The film was, as it said that. Novelist Dean Koontz said Charles Beaumont was one of the seminal influences on writing of the fantastic and the macabre, which is probably true.
Yeah.
He is a phenomenal writer. The concept of the prince being a Satanist was not in the original story. That was put in by the writers. Just needed some work. Beaumont was too ill at the time to rewrite it. That's why R. Wright Campbell has a credit on it. Let's see. The script, the interesting concept mentally to think of. Corman looked at doing it earlier in like 1961, but he was worried he would get too many comparisons to Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal because of storyline. So it's like, okay, Corman, this is a really good movie, but I think you're okay as far as that goes. But he also got shooting in England, though, did allow him 5 weeks instead of 3. So the slowness, I guess, I don't know what the exchange ended up being there for him. British censors removed part of that scene where she was seducing the demons, saying it was too graphic. It is not remotely graphic. There is nothing shown in that scene. It is her performance that makes it intense. But it is well intense, and I could, if you're looking for it, you might feel I saw something that wasn't there. Kind of like blood in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was not there, man. couple little notes here left. Although the producers were worried that Edgar Allan Poe might be too highbrow for the people they were making this for, it was considered unsuccessful at the time. According to one of the producers, it's because it was too artsy fartsy, but is now considered one of the best Edgar Allan Poe films. And yeah, it is.
Was this his first Edgar Allan Poe film?
No, I think it's his second or third. I read enough contradictory things about it because the writing happened before other ones, but then the production happened after other ones. That ended up kind of, but it's somewhere like his second to fourth.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Wow. God, some really good picks.
Yeah, this is great. A great week, man. I was like, Rodger Corman, who gets, kind of shit on in a way
Yeah.
outside of us hardcore freak film watchers, really was talented.
Yeah.
These from what you're saying and from what I watched, these are incredibly well directed and well realized films on virtually no budget compared to what was going on. So he was great.
What was the budget on yours again?
I couldn't find a reliable one, but it was a couple $100,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I would not have thought that having seen that film, but the explanation about the sets makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah, it was definitely not high.
Yeah, and in Britain that was like such a common thing. Like Doctor Who would take place in different locations each week depending on what had been shot on those studio lots.
Nice.
So sometimes they're like, we're in Rome. Crazy. We're in Victorian England. Ooh.
And that show definitely lends itself to being treated that way.
Yep.
Very cool, guys. Vanessa, this means it's your pick for the next subgenre.
Well, Kelly.
Yes.
I've had...
Don't like the way this is starting already.
I've received some complaints now and again about the specificity of my picks. So I'm going to go broad on this, and I'm going to say subtitles. Anything with subtitles.
Wow.
Yup.
Well, that will work as a...
Yeah.
Don't tell me you can't find something in time.
I'm just wishing you'd picked this a couple weeks ago when we had to watch 2 films in 1 week.
Yeah, me too.
Jesus.
I spread it out to it could be about other deities. It's just you all chose to toe the line.
So, okay, I like this idea. So any foreign film or really any
You could watch William Shatner's Esperanza movie.
Oh,
you could watch
wow.
a silent film.
Oh,
you could watch you could watch was it Coda where they're sign languaging all the way through?
Oh yeah.
Anything.
The Artist.
The Artist.
Academy Award winning film, The Artist.
Is there there's one spoken line. Are they using subs in that?
Yeah, it's all subtitled.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess it would be
partially
title cards.
Oh, I see.
Because it's a silent.
So
maybe that doesn't.
Maybe not The Artist, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
No silent films.
Did you guys see The Artist?
Yeah,
we all saw The
Yeah.
Artist. I saw that in the theaters, and then as soon as it was done, I walked out and bought another ticket and watched it again. I love that movie so much.
That's
it
a
was
great
so
film.
good. It was so good.
Okay, we're getting off track here. This is the part.
What?
Us?
Where I say thanks to everybody who's liking and sharing the posts, who's on the Strange Eons Radio Talk page, discussing films. Big thanks to Bob and Ron and Danny and all the regulars who are sharing things. Carlos,
Yeah,
Brian.
he had a dig it. It'd been a while since he had
Yeah.
one of his movies reviews show up.
Yeah, and I hadn't even heard of that movie. I was like, I guess I'm going to have to watch that one.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
if you feel like supporting us financially, you can do that on our Buy Us a Pizza page or any of our recurring donations that have been set up on PayPal and all that stuff. You can also leave us a message on the Strange Eons Radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266. What have I forgotten, guys? Oh, I have a book coming out this month.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this month. That's right.
That's
we have
right.
hit the June.
Right. It is called The Secret Language of Spiders. It is available for pre-order on digital. And at some point, you'll be able to hit my website, which is written by klyoung.com, and you can order autographed copies of the physical book.
I would say you might want to way you say your URL a little differently. It's my website, which is written by klyoung.com. Oh, great. What's the URL for that website?
It is www.writtenbyklyoung.com.
Excellent.
And so I'm going to be shilling the book here this month. So
nice.
All right, gang. That's it. We're coming back in 7 short days when we're going to be talking about films with subtitles. See you next Thursday.
Bye.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
But this other movie. So now I'm quite grateful.